Consumer rankings help us buy everything from cars to computers to couches. But what about college degrees? Today, U.S. News & World Report released its annual list of the best colleges and universities. And if you've read them before, you probably already know who's on top. Once again, Princeton and MIT led the way. Harvard tied for third. Okay. For the most part, the top 10 remain the same, but there is one major change this year. New York's Columbia University fell from number 2 to number 18. The demotion comes about 8 months after a Columbia math professor accused the school of fudging some key statistics that are used in the rankings. Columbia has since apologized for the errors. A statement released on Friday reads in part, quote, "We deeply regret the deficiencies in our prior reporting and are committed to doing better," unquote. This ranking system is unofficial, obviously, but it's come under a lot of criticism over the years. Its most recent critics include the U.S. Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona.
Too often, our best resource schools are chasing rankings that mean very little on measures that truly count. College completion, economic mobility, narrowing gaps in access to opportunity for all Americans. That system of ranking is a joke.
Joining us now is Andy Lockwood. He's the CEO of Lockwood College Prep and the author of How to Get Into Your Dream College Without Lying, Bribing, or Photoshopping. Mr. Lockwood, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
I wonder what you make of these rankings in general. I'm a big caveat emptor kind of guy, you know, Mr. Buyer Beware. I chose exactly the college that I knew I wanted to go to, that I knew was just right for me, and I still left with pluses and minuses. There is no such thing as a perfect college. So with that in mind, how do you view these rankings? They're just one more tool among many, right?
Yeah, I think they can be a helpful starting point, you know, just to sort of, you know, make an initial filter, but there's no such thing as a perfect college, like you just said. And I can name, you know, probably 7 or 8 people off the top of my head who went to Harvard University who hated it, thought it was, you know, not the right school for them. So rank is, you know, it's interesting. It sells magazines, and it can be a little helpful, but I wouldn't rely on it.
There have been other schools that have been accused of giving inaccurate information. Back in 2018, a former dean of the Temple University Business School got a 14-month sentence for conspiracy after providing fraudulent data for these U.S. News rankings. What is it about these rankings that makes them so valuable that a handful of school executives are willing to lie in the numbers to try to get a leg up?
Well, they're very valuable to the administrations of these colleges themselves because they are, you know, thought to directly drive how many applications they get, and therefore the revenue from the application fees, and then the ability to reject more people and become more highly selective and make it easier to raise more money from their alumni and other donors. So they're pretty important, and pretty much every admissions office tracks the rankings very closely.
Give me a sense of what you think they mean when they say best. I feel like this list actually means most prestigious universities. I mean, it's hard to argue that Princeton and MIT are not colleges of great prestige. Is that maybe a better way to view this? Like if you're the kind of person who is pursuing a degree where the name of the university that you went to would mean a whole lot, no matter what profession you're in, that's the way that you read this list? Is there a way to view that ranking that's more useful and more on target?
You know, when I talk to clients who frequently rely on rankings to pick colleges, I'm usually quick to point out that rankings are relatively manipulatable, you know, relatively easily manipulated, and schools that used to be very low rank and super easy to get into, such as Northeastern University. When I was growing up, it admitted 90% of its students, and now I think they admitted 6.7%, and they gamed the rankings. So I think you need to take the rankings with a grain of salt, at the very least, and understand that they can't measure, you know, inherently a lot of things, such as how much effort a student puts in to their college education, and other factors that really have nothing to do with the bricks and the mortar or the lazy rivers or whatever other amenities they offer.
Are there certain other factors that you think people should consider when looking at which school is right for them? I mean, I love the fact, at least, that U.S. News will break out the best public universities as well. As someone who used to teach at UC Berkeley, I'm very proud of how well we tend to do in rankings and how amazing those students are. But what would you recommend in terms of parents and prospective graduates or prospective students who are trying to just get a little edge, who just need a little guidance in terms of picking this school or that?
I think one of the most important things is the support from the career centers in terms of internship and other career support. I think you can get a feel for that only by really visiting these career centers, or at least reaching out to them and having a conversation. I think that is a lot more important because the school can be very highly ranked, let's say in one department, but it could be lousy in another department. So, what you major in really affects what your experience is going to be like at that school, including the effort you put in.
What is your sense of whether or not the things that students are looking for have evolved over time? I mean, the Carnegie classifications, which rank things like Research 1 universities, are evolving to factor in other details, including how students of color do. Even the U.S. News rankings changed the way they weight SAT and ACT scores because the pandemic upset how we do so many tests. Before I have to let you go, how do you think that students are changing the way they think about where they go to school before we go?
I haven't really noticed a lot of change, to be totally candid. I think it's still very much driven by top 30 colleges and this perceived edge that you get from from graduating from one of these rear window sticker colleges, as I call them. And I think that's just a fact of life. I don't love it, but I try to teach kids to look beyond that.
Andy Lockwood, appreciate you making time for us tonight. Thanks very much.
Thank you.